Ceres had always felt like she was invisible. In the crowded halls of Lyrana's largest city, where towering crystal spires reflected the light of three suns, she moved quietly, hoping no one would notice her limp. Her leg had never healed properly, a cruel twist of fate that made her different from all the other young Lyrana girls. People rarely looked her way, and when they did, it was often with pity or mild disgust. In a society that celebrated physical perfection, Ceres had been born flawed, and she knew it. Her mother, a kind woman with gentle eyes, insisted she attend the upcoming mating festival. "You may not see it now," she said softly as they walked to the great hall, "but sometimes people notice what is inside a person before they notice the outside." Ceres had wanted to believe her mother's words, but years of rejection had made her cautious. She was used to being ignored. The festival was a spectacle unlike any Ceres had ever seen. The great hall shimmered with lights that shifted in color and intensity, reflecting off the polished crystal floors. Music filled the air, low and harmonious, vibrating through the walls in a way that made her chest feel warm. Rows of alien families had gathered, each hoping their children would find suitable partners. Young Lyrana males strutted confidently, their movements graceful and deliberate, their attention focused on the physically perfect females around them. Ceres sat alone at her designated table, her hands folded neatly in her lap, her head bowed to avoid the stares she was sure would come. But the stares never came. One after another, the young males walked past her, their faces polite but empty, eyes avoiding hers as though her presence were an inconvenience. Each rejection pressed heavily on her heart, making it ache with a dull, constant pain. Ceres forced herself to smile at the few girls who tried to nod in encouragement, but the effort left her feeling hollow. She wished she could disappear completely. Just as she was beginning to accept the loneliness she had always known, a disturbance at the far end of the hall caught her attention. A group of humans had arrived, and the room seemed to pulse with curiosity and confusion. Humans were rare on Lyrana, and their appearance, shorter, sturdier, with skin tones varying from pale to tan, made the Lyrana people watch them closely. The humans moved differently, without the same strict posture and elegance expected here. They did not blend in. They did not follow the rules. One of the humans, a young man named Corin, separated himself from the group. His eyes were sharp, intelligent, and unusually kind. Unlike the Lyrana males, he did not glance around for the most physically appealing female or try to impress anyone with his posture. His attention seemed drawn to the quiet corners of the hall, and eventually it fell on Ceres. She felt the weight of his gaze and froze. She had learned long ago that any attention from strangers could lead to embarrassment. But Corin did not approach with judgment. Instead, he walked up to her table with a calm confidence that made her heart flutter nervously. When he stopped in front of her, he smiled softly, not the forced smile of someone performing for others, but a genuine expression of interest. "Hello," he said, his voice even and warm. "My name is Corin. May I sit?" Ceres hesitated, unsure if she should respond. The word no hovered on her lips, but something in the kindness of his eyes made her nod. "Yes," she whispered. Corin pulled out a chair and sat down, careful not to crowd her space. He did not comment on her leg or look at her with pity. Instead, he asked simple questions about her interests and thoughts, as if her opinions mattered more than appearances. At first, Ceres gave short, cautious answers, but slowly she began to talk. She spoke of the starship models she had been building in secret, intricate designs that could never be constructed on Lyrana due to her disability. She told him about her love for exploring maps of distant planets, her dreams of seeing the galaxy beyond the three suns. Her voice grew steadier with each word. Corin listened attentively, leaning slightly forward, eyes bright with curiosity. "You've made these designs yourself?" he asked. "They're incredible. I can tell you've thought about every detail." Saris felt a small warmth in her chest. No one had ever spoken to her like this. Not her peers, not her elders, not even her teachers. They had always seen only her flaw, her leg that never healed, her perceived weakness. But Corin saw her mind, her creativity, and he valued it. "They're not perfect," she admitted quietly, looking down at her hands. "I can't even test them. My leg makes it impossible to go to the labs." "Perfect?" Corin repeated, his tone gentle but firm. "Why would anyone need perfect designs if they're brilliant ones? You've done what others couldn't despite your challenges." "That's more than perfect. That's remarkable." Saris blinked, stunned. His words were unlike anything she had ever heard. Usually, compliments from Lyrana were reserved for appearance or family prestige. Her abilities, her mind, her effort, none of that had ever been acknowledged. For the first time, she felt seen. As the festival continued around them, Corin and Saris spoke quietly, their conversation drifting naturally from starships to distant stars, from dreams to simple life stories. The young human's presence did not intimidate her as the Lyrana usually did. Corin asked her about her family, her hobbies, and even about her favorite memories from childhood. Each question carried an assumption that she mattered, that she was worthy. Saris had never felt worthy before. Finally, Corin's expression turned serious. "I noticed something," he said softly. "Everyone else here, they ignore you. They treat you as if you shouldn't be here, but I see you. You're not broken, Saris. You're just different. And sometimes people are too blind to see what matters." Her heart leapt at the sound of her name on his lips. It was the first time anyone outside her family had spoken to her with such focus, such care. The weight she had carried for years, the rejection, the loneliness, the quiet despair, seemed to lift slightly. She wanted to cry, but the tears did not fall yet. Instead, she simply nodded, unable to speak, overwhelmed by the unfamiliar warmth of recognition. Corin smiled gently. "You know," he continued, "if someone can't see your value, that's their problem, not yours. I think the galaxy would be lucky to have someone like you in it." Saris felt her chest tighten. She had spent so long hiding her feelings of inadequacy that the idea of someone truly valuing her seemed impossible. Yet here he was, a human, a stranger from a world far away, treating her as an equal, treating her as important. For the first time, hope stirred inside her. A fragile, trembling hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a place for her in the world beyond rejection. The festival began to wind down, but Corin remained by her side, asking questions and listening patiently. Saris realized she had not felt this comfortable with anyone in her entire life. The conversation made her feel alive in a way she hadn't expected, and she looked forward to the days ahead with a cautious curiosity. She knew nothing about humans, nothing about Corin's intentions, yet a sense of trust began to grow, a feeling she had almost forgotten existed. When it was time to leave, Corin stood with her, gently supporting her as she adjusted her footing. He did not look at her with pity. He looked at her with respect. "I hope we can meet again," he said, his voice steady. "There's so much I want to learn from you." Saris nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. I would like that," she whispered. As Corin returned to his group, Saris watched him go, feeling a strange mixture of excitement and disbelief. Could someone really care about her for who she was, not for what she lacked? She had never dared to imagine it. Yet here, in the midst of a festival meant to highlight beauty and perfection, a human had seen her worth in a single conversation. That night, Lying in her small room with her mother's comforting presence nearby, Sarah stared at the ceiling, replaying every word Corin had said. She felt a tiny spark of courage ignite within her, a feeling she had thought was lost forever. Perhaps she could be more than the girl everyone ignored. Perhaps one day she could be someone people noticed for reasons that mattered, not for appearances alone. And somewhere deep inside, she realized that the arrival of one human had changed everything. For the first time, she felt that the universe might hold more than rejection. It might hold acceptance, respect, and maybe even love. But above all, it held the possibility that she could finally be seen. As she drifted into sleep, Saris allowed herself one daring thought. Maybe, just maybe, she was no longer invisible. The days after the festival were different for Saris. The memory of Corin's words, the calm strength in his voice, and the way he had treated her with respect and kindness lingered like a warm light inside her chest. She found herself walking through the halls with a lighter step, even with her leg that never fully healed. Something about knowing that someone saw her worth gave her courage she had never experienced before. Yet, she also felt a tremor of fear. Could it really be true? Could a human, someone so different from everyone she had ever known, truly care for her? Corin had not vanished after their first meeting. The human's diplomatic mission was to last several weeks, and he made sure to find moments to speak with her whenever possible. Sometimes they met in the quiet gardens of the city, where crystalline fountains sparkled in the sunlight and soft winds carried the scent of strange alien flowers. At other times, they sat in the observation tower, staring at the stars that stretched beyond the three suns of Lirana. Every conversation, every shared laugh, and every moment of understanding strengthened the bond between them. Saris discovered that Corin was not only kind, but also genuinely curious. He asked about her starship models, the techniques she used to design them, and her dreams of traveling beyond her world. He listened when she explained the limitations her society had placed on her, never dismissing her experiences or making her feel small. In his presence, she began to imagine a life where her leg did not define her, where her intelligence and creativity were enough. However, not everyone welcomed this growing connection. A few of the elders noticed the unusual bond and frowned. Humans were strange outsiders, and the idea that one of them might take an interest in a Lirana girl, even one with disabilities, was shocking. One elder, a stern woman named Valira, warned Saris quietly. "You must not allow yourself to be swayed by outsiders," she said. "Your people have traditions for a reason. You cannot give false hope to a human, and you cannot break our customs." Saris felt a wave of fear. She loved the attention, the kindness, the feeling of being truly seen, but she also feared disappointing her people and her mother. I will be careful," she whispered, though her heart ached at the thought of letting Corin go. Corin, however, did not give up. He found her one evening sitting alone in the observation tower, the sky ablaze with the shifting colors of Lirana's three suns. She was staring at the horizon, lost in thought. "I know they frighten you," he said softly, approaching her slowly. "They may not understand us. They may never accept what we share. But that does not mean you are wrong, Saris. You are brave, you are smart, and you are worthy." Saris shook her head, her emotions threatening to spill over. I cannot. My people. They will never accept this. And I don't want to ruin your mission, your life." Corin crouched down so that he was at her eye level. "I do not care what your people think. I care about you, your life, your dreams, your heart. Nothing else matters." Her chest tightened. His words, so simple and true, cut through the fear and doubt that had ruled her for so long. She wanted to believe him. wanted to take the first step towards something she had never dared to hope for. But even as her heart raced, she remained cautious. Days later, a crisis occurred that would change everything. A malfunction in the city's power grid threatened to destabilize the energy supply for half of Lyrana. The energy conduits, delicate and complex, required careful recalibration, and the local engineers panicked. Many of the Lyrana engineers were unwilling or unable to reach certain parts of the network due to the risk, leaving a critical problem unsolved. Saris, despite her leg, saw the problem clearly. She had studied the city's systems while designing her starship models and immediately recognized the path to stabilization. But the corridors leading to the malfunction were narrow, treacherous, and required careful steps. Her leg ached as she moved, but determination filled her mind. Corin noticed her approach and moved beside her. "I'll help you," he said. "We can do this together." For hours they worked side by side, Saris guiding the repairs with her knowledge, Corin supporting her physically when she stumbled. They communicated efficiently, a silent trust growing between them. As they repaired the final conduit, a surge of energy pulsed through the system, signaling that the crisis had been averted. When they finally stepped back, exhausted and breathing heavily, the gathered engineers and citizens looked at Saris with awe. She, who had always been ignored, had saved half the city from disaster. Corin stayed beside her, not letting her feel small, but letting her feel proud. For the first time, Saris saw the astonishment and respect in the eyes of others. Young girls approached her quietly, whispering admiration for her intelligence and courage. Some of the elders nodded silently, acknowledgement of what they had once overlooked. Saris felt a strange mixture of relief and joy. For years, she had believed her disability made her unworthy. Now, the world, at least part of it, recognized her worth. Later that evening, Corin and Saris returned to the observation tower. The sky was dark, stars glimmering like scattered diamonds. Saris leaned against the railing, exhausted but content. "You did amazing today," Corin said softly. "Not because of me, but because of who you are. You were brave, clever, and strong." Saris looked at him, tears brimming in her eyes. I have never felt like this. Never. You make me feel seen." Corin smiled, reaching for her hands gently. "That's because you are, Saris. You have always been worth seeing. You just needed someone who could." Her heart raced, and a warmth spread through her chest. She had never felt valued like this. His hands were steady and reassuring, not demanding or patronizing, just full of sincerity. Corin took a deep breath, his eyes searching hers. "Saris, there is something I need to ask you. I do not follow your traditions. I do not understand everything about your world, but I know one thing. I want to be with you. I want to share life with you, not because you need someone, but because I want you." Her breath caught. Could it be real? Could a human, someone so different, really care for her for who she was, not for her leg or her status? He knelt, not as a ritual of their customs, but as a gesture of respect and intention. "Saris," he said, his voice steady and warm, "will you mate with me? Will you share your life with me?" For a moment, Saris could not speak. Her mind raced with disbelief, joy, fear, and hope all at once. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she finally whispered, "Yes, yes, I want to live beside you." Corin stood and embraced her carefully, mindful of her leg. He held her close, a promise in his arms that he would respect, protect, and value her forever. Saris felt a wave of relief and happiness wash over her. For the first time in her life, she was wanted, not because she was perfect, not because of her status, but because of who she was. The following days were filled with preparations for a new journey. Corin and Saris worked together to finalize plans for her to travel to Earth, where she could study advanced starship engineering and explore galaxies beyond Lyrana. Her mother supported her quietly, tears of pride in her eyes. Even some of the elders softened, realizing that courage, intelligence, and heart were qualities worth honoring, even if they did not fit traditional expectations. Saris's confidence grew with each passing day. She walked taller, spoke more freely, and dreamed bigger than ever before. She spent hours with Corin discussing designs, exploring maps of distant stars, and imagining the adventures they would have together. Each day reinforced what she had begun to believe, that life could be more than rejection and pity. Life could be full of respect, love, and endless possibilities. When the day of departure came, Saris stood at the edge of the Lyrana spaceport, her heart racing with excitement and anticipation. Corin stood beside her, holding her hand gently. The ship awaited, sleek and polished, ready to carry them across the stars. "Are you ready?" Corin asked, smiling. Saris looked at him, her heart full. "Yes," she said firmly, a confident smile lighting her face. "I am ready." As they stepped onto the ship together, Saris felt a sense of liberation she had never known. She was no longer the girl who had been ignored, overlooked, or dismissed. She was someone who had been seen, valued, and chosen, not for perfection but for her heart, her mind, and her courage. The ship lifted off, carrying them beyond Lyrana's skies, beyond the judgments of a world that had once rejected her. Saris looked out at the stars, feeling the vastness of the universe around her. For the first time, she realized that the galaxy was full of endless possibilities, and she would explore it not alone, but with someone who truly valued her. As the stars stretched infinitely before them, Saris turned to Corin and smiled. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" he asked softly. "For seeing me," she replied. "For believing I am worthy. For showing me that I can be more than I ever imagined." Corin squeezed her hand, his smile gentle and full of promise. "You always were, Saris. I just helped you see it." And together, they soared into the galaxy, beginning a life of adventure, respect, and love. A life that Saris had never dared to dream of until one human saw her worth.